For 8 whole centuries, a powerful Muslim civilization didn't just exist in Europe. It thrived. It was a global center for science, for culture, for art. And then, it was gone. So how does something so brilliant just vanish? Let's dive in and uncover the incredible story of Al-Andalus.
Wow. Imagine hearing those words from your own mother. These were the absolutely devastating words spoken to the very last Muslim ruler of Granada, right as he was surrendering his kingdom. It's a tragic end to an epic story, but believe it or not, it's exactly where we need to begin.
Now, I know it sounds a little backward to start at the end, right? But to really get a sense of just how massive this civilization was and how complete its collapse was, we have to see its final, heartbreaking moments. It's the only way to ask the most important question. How on earth did it all come to this?
So picture the scene. As Abu Abdullah rides away, he turns back for one last look at his home, the magnificent Alhambra Palace, and he weeps. That spot, even today, is still known as the Moor's last sigh. And, his tears weren't just for a city he'd lost. They were for an entire world, an entire civilization that was now gone forever. To understand how this moment was even possible, we have to go back, way back, 800 years to the very beginning.
All right, let's rewind the clock. We're going all the way back to the year 711 AD, where this whole story kicks off.
It all starts with a surprisingly small army. Just 7,000 soldiers cross into Europe. And yet, in just a few short years, the Umayyad Caliphate takes control of most of the peninsula, which they name Al-Andalus. But then, there's a huge plot twist. A young prince, Abd al-Rahman, is the sole survivor of a bloody coup that wipes out his entire family back in Damascus. He flees for his life, makes his way here, and establishes his own independent rule. He had no idea, but he was lighting the fuse for an incredible golden age.
And what a golden age it was. Seriously, while a lot of Europe was, let's just say, going through a rough patch during the Dark Ages, Al-Andalus was exploding with light, learning, and discovery.
You have to try and imagine just how advanced this place was. At its peak, the capital, Córdoba, was one of the most important cities on the planet. We're talking about a city with paved streets, streetlights, even running water. It was a magnet for scholars from all over the world, a place where Muslims, Jews, and Christians lived together in a way that was practically unimaginable at the time. But as we know, golden ages rarely last forever. This powerful, unified state, it was about to hit a massive wall. And this is the turning point, the moment where it all starts to unravel. So how does that happen? How does a civilization at the absolute peak of its power just fall apart? Well, the thing that brought it down wasn't some huge invasion from the outside. No, the fatal blow came from within.
23. Remember that number. It changed everything. So, in the year 976, the ruler dies, and his son, who's only 10 years old, takes the throne. Of course, this creates a massive power vacuum. Ambitious rivals saw their chance, and the once mighty, unified Caliphate of Córdoba completely shattered into 23 small, squabbling kingdoms called taifas.
And this internal chaos, it was the perfect opening for the Christian kingdoms up on the north. They'd been watching, waiting, and now they saw a golden opportunity to launch what would become a centuries-long campaign to take back the peninsula, a campaign they called the Reconquista.
And right here, you can see the fatal difference. On one side, you have Al-Andalus totally fractured, with these 23 little kingdoms often fighting each other more than any outside enemy. And on the other side, the Christian kingdoms were doing the exact opposite. They were teaming up, uniting under one single goal, and getting stronger and stronger every year. Now, this wasn't a quick war. It was a slow, grinding, centuries-long push south. One by one, the taifas fell, and after a decisive battle in 1212, the fate of Al-Andalus was basically sealed. Just one last pocket of Muslim rule managed to hang on, the Emirate of Granada. It would survive for another 250 years, but it was completely and utterly alone.
Which brings us right back to where we started, to the final fall of Granada in 1492. But the story doesn't actually end there. What happens to all the people, the art, the knowledge that's left behind?
See, when Granada finally surrendered, a treaty was signed. The new rulers of United Spain, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, they made a promise. They promised to protect the rights and religious freedom of their new Muslim subjects. That promise, it didn't even last 10 years.
The choice that was given became brutally simple.
The era of coexistence was over. Muslims were given a stark ultimatum: convert to Christianity or leave the land your families have known for centuries forever.
What came next was a conscious, systematic effort to wipe an entire history off the map. It's estimated that 500,000 Arabic books filled with priceless knowledge on medicine, math, philosophy, were just burned. Mosques were converted into churches. A new, single Christian identity for Spain was being forged, built quite literally on the ashes of Al-Andalus.
And so that leaves us with this final thought-provoking question. What happened in 1492 didn't just end a kingdom. It fundamentally reshaped the identity of an entire continent. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would Spain and all of Europe look like today if that first promise of tolerance and freedom had actually been kept?